Hey guys, tonight we drift into a world where even the king of gods trembles. You're standing at the peak of Mount Olympus and the sky is cracked open like a shattered mirror. Lightning doesn't just flash tonight, it coils around your ankles like a nervous pet. The clouds above you pulse, not with rain, but with this something stranger, something older, something waking. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. And tell us in the comments, what time is it, where you are, and where in the world are you listening from? Now dim the lights and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You shift your weight, the marble beneath your sandals, trembling. The air up here is thinner than it used to be, not just in oxygen, but in certainty. Even the ever-brawling gods have gone unusually silent. Ares isn't yelling. Apollo isn't flirting. And Zeus immortal, thunder hurler king of the big chair, is biting his thumbnail.
You're technically not supposed to be here, but you're very good at blending in when things get weird. You've got ambrosia-stained robes and a good, yes, quite troubling expression that passes well enough among the lesser immortals. It's gotten you into a few awkward dinner parties and now apparently a cosmic crisis. Zeus stands near the edge, a storm held in the palm of his hand like a stress ball. He hasn't thrown it yet, but he might. His eyes keep scanning the sky. Not up-down, that's the first strange thing. Thunder gods don't usually look down. You shuffle a bit closer, using a sleepy satyr as cover. He's muttering something about his hooves tingling. You think it's just a hangover until you feel it too. A low, resonant hum under the soles of your feet, like a sleeping lion dreaming of a chase. What's down there, you whisper. No one answers. But Zeus suddenly speaks. It's him. He says it so softly you almost miss it. Lightning crackles. Hera stiffens beside him, her lips thin into a line you wouldn't want to cross on a good day. Hermes raises his eyebrows and offers you a grape. You decline. Then Zeus lifts his hand and the thunderball dissolves into mist. A moment of silence passes, and then crack the mountain lurches, gods stumble, you flail. Somewhere behind you, Dionysus screams, "My wine," in a tone that's 70% tragedy, 30% comedy. Marble columns groan, birds scatter, and far, far beneath your feet something shifts. Zeus turns toward the gathered immortals and says, "The pact is broken. You do not like the sound of that." But now everyone is talking at once. The earth shouldn't move there, that's sealed land, I told you. We should have reinforced the edges with adamantine. If it's him, someone says. We'll need more than thunder, says Athena. You lean over toward Hermes. Who's him? He doesn't smile. And Hermes always smiles. Old name, he says, unspoken. Great. Just what you need. Unspoken names. You look down again, but the stone seems still now. The tremble has passed, but a nervous tension stays behind like static on your skin. The gods scatter, some fly off, others vanish in flickers of smoke or sparks of flame. Zeus remains. Hera watches him for a long moment, then walks away without a word. You realize you're alone now, standing next to the king of Olympus, who's visibly sweating. You start. He turns to you slowly, like someone who's forgotten how time works. Go to the grove, he says. The laurel trees might already be whispering. You nod because it seems polite, but you're really thinking. What grove? What whispering? What pact? What's waking up? And can we not do this on a Tuesday? Zeus glances up at the churning sky. Lightning rolls again, but it doesn't feel like it's his anymore. And then he mutters something that chills your spine. The sky trembles. When the sleeper stirs, You pretend not to hear that. But you do, and so obediently, because questioning Zeus is like telling your landlord you might have summoned an underworld fog demon in the basement. You head for the grove. The winds on Olympus grow quieter behind you. The mountain doesn't move again, but you feel it deep in your chest, now a pressure, like someone somewhere is dreaming too loudly. Oh, and your left sandal is glowing. That can't be good. On the bright side, at least no one's thrown a thunderbolt yet. Then again, it's only the beginning of the night. Word count 1083. Awaiting. Continue ban. Jan. Noi. Continue. ChatGPT Jan. Noi. Section 2. You trudge down the marble steps past clouds that don't behave like they used to. They don't drift, they pause as if listening. The path to the laurel grove winds along Olympus's southern shoulder, lined with statues of gods who have long since stopped checking their own shrines. It's quiet. Too quiet. Even for a divine mountain. No lyres strumming, no flirtatious whispers from nymphs. You hear only your footsteps and that eerie hum, faint like a cello string being plucked in the underworld. You don't know how you know it, but something just cracked beneath the clouds. As you reach the grove, the scent hits first. Sharp and sweet laurel and ozone. The trees sway, though there's no wind. One branch dips toward your face like it's trying to sniff you. You offer it a nervous nod. Hi, just visiting. Please don't wrap around my neck. The leaves rustle in response. And then, faintly, you hear them whispers. Not words exactly, more like syllables ungluing themselves. Snippets of forgotten lullabies, echoes of bedtime stories told to gods who were children once, if such a thing ever existed. In the heart of the grove stands a cracked stone basin. Dried sap rings its edges. It used to be a spring maybe, but now it holds only mist. You lean in, and the mist parts. Below, not reflected but somehow shown, is a cavern. Black stone, pale vines, and a heartbeat. You hear it impossibly slow, like a drum being played underwater. It doesn't rush, it waits. You step back. The basin seals with a soft sigh, like a door reluctantly closing. Then a voice speaks so close it startles you. He's waking. You whip around. No one's there. You check behind the nearest tree. Nothing but laurel. Except one tree has eyes, golden ones. You blink. It's no longer a tree. It's Themis Titaness of divine lore, leaning on a cane made of old lightning. You haven't seen her in centuries. She usually avoids Olympus, since the whole "we locked up your brothers and destroyed your kingdom" incident. You shouldn't be here, she says, though she doesn't look angry. Just tired, very tired, like she hasn't slept since the Bronze Age. Wasn't my idea, you say? Zeus sent me. That gets her attention. Her mouth twitches, of course he did. She sits on a moss-covered boulder and pats the space beside her. You sit. Very slowly. The boulder feels like it's humming too. He cracked the pact, she says. You blink. What pact, Themis? Turns toward you, and for the first time you see something like fear in her ancient face. During the Titanomachy, there was one of us who didn't fight. Not out of cowardice, no, he simply slept. A kind of sleep even Nyx didn't understand. Hypnos, you whisper. She nods. But Hypnos isn't a titan you add trying to remember your god family tree. He's more like a titles don't matter. When dreams bleed into reality, she cuts in. He stayed neutral, but even in sleep his power twisted the tides. Entire armies wandered off mid-battle to nap. Generals dreamed of surrendering and did. You think of something you once heard, that in one campaign 20,000 men fell asleep mid-siege and woke up shearing sheep for a village they didn't recognize. Historians still argue whether that was divine intervention or just very bad soup. Themis continues. So Zeus made a deal. He wouldn't bind Hypnos like the others wouldn't cast him into Tartarus. Instead, he built a vault beneath Olympus and sealed him there with words not spoken since. And now you ask. She points upward, not down. You follow her finger to the sky, where the clouds have begun to ripple outward, like water struck by a stone. Now you understand what Zeus meant. The crack is not below Olympus, it's in the sky. You squint. Is that light seeping through? No, not light. Something softer, dreamlight, the kind of glow you see only in childhood memories or that one dream about the bakery shaped like a turtle. Suddenly the basin behind you hisses, you whirl, the mist boils, then you hear it again, the heartbeat, louder, closer. Themis is already on her feet. She moves fast for someone who's half stone. You must leave the grove, she says.
Will it explode? No, implode worse, she says. It may remember. You start to ask what that means when the laurel trees all shudder at once. Dozens of leaves break free and spiral upward, not down. You've never seen that before. One brushes your cheek. It's warm, like it came from a sleeping brow. I'll take my leave now, you say, in your best awkward bureaucrat voice. Themis vanishes mid-nod. Classic. You race back toward the palace steps, heart thumping. As you run, a random fact pops into your brain, maybe from panic, maybe divine interference. The Greeks used to believe laurel wreaths could protect against madness. You're now 70% laurel-scented and still feel pretty unprotected. As you reach the colonnade, you find Hermes waiting, juggling 3 glowing orbs and whistling a funeral dirge. Did it whisper, he asks. Yes. Did you whisper back? No. Good, he claps you on the back. Let's go see Zeus. Does he have a plan? Hermes shrugs.
He always thinks he has a plan. You glance once more at the sky. That crack, it's wider now. And if you listen closely, you swear, you hear a lullaby. Oh, and your sandals still glowing, great. Word count, 1, 81. Awaiting, continue. Ban ja, noi, continue. ChatGPT ja, noi. Section 3. The walk back to Zeus is quieter than before. Too quiet, actually. You and Hermes pass through the halls of Olympus, and every statue seems to watch you, some with judgment, some with sympathy, and one with an expression you can only describe as preemptive eulogy. Don't mind them, Hermes mutters. They've been frozen since the 5th sacrificial budget crisis, haven't updated in centuries. You're not comforted. Up ahead, the main forum glows dimly, columns flickering with uncertain fire. Inside, most of the pantheon has reassembled. They're whispering in knots, pacing, glancing skyward. Hephaestus is fiddling with something that looks like a golden pacemaker the size of a dinner plate. Aphrodite is absently twisting her hair, eyes clouded in thought, and even Apollo has traded his usual glow for a more brooding smoulder. In the center, standing in front of his obsidian throne, is Zeus. Thunder curls around his shoulders like an anxious pet snake. He's speaking, Hermes murmurs. Come on. You slide into the back of the gathering, just in time to hear Zeus say the name out loud, Hypnos. It's not shouted, it's whispered. And yet it lands like a thunderclap. Some of the gods flinch, others pretend they didn't hear. Only Athena remains perfectly still, fingers drumming the hilt of her sword. Hermes, Zeus says, turning toward you both. Tell them what you saw. You blink. Me, he raises an eyebrow. You were in the grove. Speak. Your sandals squeak. You clear your throat. The mist showed me something. A cavern, stone wrapped in vines, and a heartbeat. A slow one asks Hera. Too slow, you reply, like it hadn't beat in eons, and yet
It's getting faster, the gods murmur. Dionysus knocks back a flask of something that smells like wet grapes and bad decisions. Could it be residual energy? Asks Poseidon, swirling his trident like a wine glass. No, Athena says flatly. He's stirring. Because of the crack, Apollo ventures. Zeus sighs, rubbing the bridge of his nose, because the pact is breaking, the seal is weakening, and Dreamlight is leaking into the sky. Dreamlight, someone snorts. Sounds like a scented candle. Zeus ignores it. This isn't just a magical leak, it's him. His dreams are reaching the surface. You raise a hand, just out of curiosity. What happens if Hypnos fully wakes? Silence. Then Artemis answers in a voice sharp as arrowhead steel. If he wakes, the line between dream and waking may unravel. Cool, you say? Love that for us? Entire cities could become lucid dreams, Athena adds. Time may fold, memories might tangle, people could dream lives they never lived. Ares cracks his knuckles, or we could punch him back to bed. Oh, sure, Hermes mutters, just knock unconscious, the embodiment of unconsciousness. That always goes well. Ares doesn't get sarcasm, he just flexes. Zeus lifts a hand for silence. The problem, he says, is that no one has entered his chamber since the first war. We don't even know if the bindings still hold. Didn't you use Nyx's thread? Asks Hephaestus, still tinkering. Yes, Zeus replies, woven by Night herself. But even Nyx has vanished from the firmament. That gets everyone's attention. What Hera's voice is cold. She's not answering summons, Zeus says, not in dreams, not in sacrifice. The stars that mark her path have dimmed. Now that is bad. Nyx doesn't miss appointments. She's older than time. Even Kronos used to double-check her calendar. What about Thanatos? Apollo asks. He's Hypnos' brother. Wouldn't he know something we can't find him either?
Another round of tension fills the room. Then Hermes steps forward. There's one name I've heard whispered. Not by the gods, but by mortals. You arch an eyebrow. Mortals. Hermes nods. A shepherd in Thessaly. Sleeps under the stars. Started speaking in strange tongues. Draws maps in his dreams, constellations that don't exist. Locations of temples never built. He pulls a small parchment from his robe and unrolls it. The handwriting is shaky and yet oddly elegant. You lean in. The diagram shows a spiral mountain, not Olympus, but something deeper. A chamber wrapped in vines, and in the center, a massive figure curled in on itself like a god-shaped comma. Zeus stares at the drawing. That's his chamber. How does a shepherd know that, you ask? His dreams, Hermes replies. He says he dreams as if someone else is borrowing his body. Historians still argue, Apollo says almost absently, whether the ancients believed dreams were divine messages or just your brain tossing confetti during REM sleep. Well, Athena says when your dreams start sending cartography updates, it's time to panic. Zeus folds the parchment. We'll send someone to the mortal. See if the dreams continue. If Hypnos is reaching out through human minds, the barrier is weaker than we thought. Everyone nods, except Hades, who has just now entered through a shadow near the floor, looking very much like someone forced to attend a meeting he thought was an email. I vote for putting him back to sleep, he says without context. Gently, if possible, violently, if not. Your support is noted, Zeus mutters. Hades shrugs. It's always the quiet ones, brother. should have known better than to make pacts in the dark. You watch as the council begins to break again, everyone buzzing, everything fraying.
And somewhere up in the sky, the crack pulses a little wider. You wonder how dreams taste when they're half-formed. Probably like cold honey, or maybe burnt lavender. Either way, someone's going to have to visit that shepherd. Soon. And you just know it's going to be you. Word count 1093. Awaiting continue. Banjanoi continue. ChatGPT. Janoi. Section 4. You're riding a donkey now. Not exactly the divine chariot of your dreams, but apparently celestial airspace is under quarantine until further notice. Too much dream surge interference. Hermes tossed you a travel satchel, a slightly sarcastic map, and pointed downhill with a grin. Thessaly's that way. Try not to get possessed. The donkey's name, by the way, is Euphemia. She smells faintly of wild thyme and unspoken judgment. You suspect she used to be a dryad. The path down Olympus is less majestic than it looks in mosaics. You're slipping on pebbles, dodging rebellious shrubs, and trying to ignore the weird flicker in the clouds overhead. At one point, you glance up and swear the sun just winked at you. That's fine, that's probably fine. You descend through thickening pine forests. Somewhere behind the trees, a river murmurs secrets in a language only frogs understand. You pass a rock formation shaped like a yawning face, and for a moment, you're not entirely sure it's just a rock. Eventually, Euphemia stops in a clearing. A goat blinks at you, a rooster, inexplicably, is perched on a harp. And by the campfire, snoring softly, lies the shepherd. He's maybe 20, wears a patched cloak, sandals with too many straps, and a beard he's clearly still negotiating with. There's a scroll in his lap, half written. His fingers twitch in sleep. You dismount. Euphemia munches something spiky. The rooster plays a single ominous note. "Hello," you whisper, stepping forward. His eyes snap open.
And for a second, they're gold. Then the colour fades, and he blinks up at you like any confused mortal just woken mid-dream. "You're not my goat. I've been called worse, you say. Mind if I ask you a few questions about your dreams?" He yawns. "They're not mine." "That is not what you were hoping to hear." You settle beside him. "What do you mean?" He sits up, slowly, rubbing sleep from his temples. "I don't dream anymore. I watch. Someone else dreams, and I'm just sitting there, listening, seeing what he sees. Describe it: dark, warm, deep, like being under a mountain wrapped in silk. There's a heartbeat so slow you almost forget it's real, and vines and breathing, not mine, huge breathing, and sometimes whispers. They're not in words, just shapes. You shiver. Have you ever spoken back?" He nods. "Once I asked, 'What are you?' and it said, 'I remember when thunder was new.'" You take a moment. That's the kind of sentence you need to emotionally digest.
"And since then you ask." "Maps," he says. "Symbols, star patterns I've never seen. He wants me to go somewhere, but I don't know where it is." You pull the crumpled parchment Hermes gave you. "Like this." The shepherd squints, then nods. "That was last week." This week he added doors, big ones, with vines made of sleep. You reach into your bag and pull out a wax tablet. Can you draw the new ones he does? His hand moves like he's copying something burned into the back of his eyelids. 2 doors, intertwined vines. At the center, an eye. You hate that the eye seems to blink when you look too long. Suddenly he slumps forward, clutching his head. "What's wrong?" Too loud, he groans. He's trying to see through me again. You act fast. You've seen this before, divine bleed through. A little-known fringe tidbit in the ancient world, some oracles wore lead circlets to keep gods from crawling through their skulls. You don't have lead, but you do have a stale olive loaf.
You gently press it to his forehead. Weirdly, it helps. Thanks, he breathes. He's quiet again. You nod. That's enough for today. You let him rest while you scan the drawings. There's a symbol you recognize now barely. A looped spiral, once used in the Orphic mysteries, to mark places where the world thinned between dream and death. Historians still argue whether those cults actually believed in literal doorways between worlds or if they were just very into psychedelics and seasonal chanting. You believe it now. The eye on the tablet seems to pulse faintly, not ominously, just curious. Behind you, Euphemia sneezes. You jump. The rooster plays another ominous chord. You carefully wrap the scroll and tablet, then you turn back to the shepherd. "What's your name?" "Thalos," he says, eyes half-lidded again. "Well, Thalos, you might be hosting a titan." He shrugs. "Better than the fleas." You give him some honeyed nuts and a charm carved with a sleep-binding rune just in case. And then reluctantly you turn back toward Olympus. You're not even halfway through the woods before the sky cracks again, but this time it whispers, not in words, not even in sound, in memory. You suddenly remember being rocked in a cradle you've never seen. A woman singing lullabies in a language that predates Greek. Her skin the colour of moonlight on snow. And a hand, vast silver-skinned, gently brushing your forehead. You stop walking. Your heart races. That dream wasn't yours. It was his. Word count 1, 091, awaiting. Continue Banjan, Noi. Continue ChatGPT, Jan Noi. Section 5. You don't remember the walk back to Olympus. Your legs do vaguely, but your mind has been riding shotgun in someone else's dream the entire way. The silver hand still lingers in your memory, not threatening, just immense. Comforting even, which is honestly more disturbing. As you crest the marble stairs, Euphemia brays once and wanders off without a goodbye. Rude, but fair. Olympus is humming again. Not with divine conversation or dramatic harp solos. No, this is different. The sky is humming, a long, low vibration that your bones feel before your ears do. You pass a trio of minor gods staring straight up, mouths open like fish. One of them whispers, "Is that a lullaby?" You hear it too now. A faint, almost mocking melody. The kind someone hums just before they fall asleep at the wheel of the universe. You duck into the council chamber where Zeus is pacing so furiously he's worn a groove in the floor. That would be fine if the floor weren't made of enchanted marble that resists wear. But even marble has its limits when a god is worried. "I have news," you say, holding up the scroll. Everyone looks. No one speaks. You hand it to Hermes, who unrolls it while balancing on one foot and chewing fig bark. "Dream cartography," he mutters.
He's mapping something. Doors, you add, 2 of them with vines made of sleep and an eye. An eye. Hera echoes, stepping forward. "You're sure?" "Absolutely, it blinked at me." Aphrodite snorts. "That sounds like a you problem." Hermes flips the scroll around. "I've seen this symbol before. Not in Olympus, in the old Dream Forge." "Dream Forge, you ask?" Zeus growls low and deep. "A vault beneath the earth, built before the gods took the sky. Only a handful know it exists." "Oh, good, you say. Secret dream forges. That always ends well." Hephaestus limps forward, eyes gleaming. "I built part of it, used orichalcum, bound it with soul thread and sealed it with a riddle." And what was the riddle? Asks Athena. He shrugs. No idea. I gave it to Morpheus. Said it should only open if the dream is meant, Morpheus hearer says slowly. We haven't heard from him in centuries, because he sleeps, Zeus mutters, just like Hypnos, just like all of them.
The dream gods retreated when the world stopped listening, shrines abandoned, offerings forgotten. Mortals began explaining dreams with brain waves and psychology. You glance around. So you're saying. Dream gods got bored, not bored, Athena says. Exiled. Neglected gods lose their power. But Hypnos was clever. He didn't fade. He went deeper. Into a kind of god hibernation, you ask. Exactly, Hermes says. But something is waking him. Or someone. You feel the weight of the scroll in your hands again. The shepherd. Thalos, he's not the only one, is he? Zeus closes his eyes. No, there have been others. He waves his hand and suddenly the air flickers. Dozens of mortal figures appear, men, women, children, all asleep. Some twitching, some weeping. One painting symbols in the air with her fingers. They're all dreaming the same dream, Zeus says. We tried to keep it quiet, but now the dreams are spreading. Are they dangerous, you ask?
Not yet, says Apollo. But the longer Hypnos remains half asleep, the more the dreams bleed. Time dilates, places vanish. One village in Arcadia was stuck in the same hour for 3 days. That sounds like a great place to get laundry done, you say. No one laughs, you try again. Any idea what's behind these dream doors he's drawing? Zeus hesitates. Finally, Athena answers for him. One of the doors leads to Hypnos himself, and the other a beat of silence. Unknown, she says, but some of us believe it may lead to Lethe. The river of forgetting Hermes nods grimly. Not the nice kind of forgetting either. The undoing. The thing dreams use to clean house. Unwrite the unwritten. You feel a cold knot form in your stomach. If someone opens the wrong door, they might erase reality, Hephaestus mutters. Or worse, merge it with the dreamscape. You sit down, hard. And Zeus made a pact with this guy. It was wartime, he snaps. I needed him?
Cronus was devouring everyone like an existential buffet. Hypnos lulled him into stillness just long enough for the strike. You raise an eyebrow. So Hypnos saved your life. Zeus nods, and in return I let him sleep undisturbed. No prison, no chains, just dreams. Will you say he's definitely disturbed now? A soft laugh echoes from the corner. It's Morpheus. No one noticed him appear, which feels both appropriate and, incredibly, on brand. He's barefoot, eyes heavy-lidded, draped in robes that look woven from shadow and wool. Hello again, he murmurs, voice a lullaby made of wind. Morpheus Hermes steps forward. How long have you been here? Long enough, he sighs. The doors are not new. They are memories. Memories of what you ask. Of the world before waking, he says simply. Before language, before thought. Hypnos remembers. And then he glides toward the map. One finger brushes the spiral. This, he says, is not a place. It's a return.
You don't like the sound of that one bit. He looks at Zeus. You have to choose, old friend. Choose what the thunderer asks. Whether to let him finish dreaming, Morpheus says softly, or wake him and risk dissolving the line forever. Behind him, the sky crackles again. A yawn rolls across the heavens. Not yours, not any mortals. His. Word count 1098. Awaiting continue. Banjan Noi continue. ChatGPT. Janoi section 6. You don't sleep that night. Not that sleep would help anyway. The lullaby in the clouds has deepened. It's not a melody anymore. It's more like a tide pulling softly at your thoughts, brushing away the edges of your memory. You nearly forget where you left your satchel, then you nearly forget your own name. Luckily, Hermes pins a name tag to your tunic, just in case he says, smiling like someone who's labeled corpses before. The next morning, if you can call it morning, when the sun rises sideways, you descend again.
This time, your mission is to find the old caverns near the underworld's edge, the place Zeus refuses to call by name, where Hypnos once shaped dreams into weapons. Take this, Hephaestus tells you, handing over a sprig of moly, a mythical herb with black stem and white blossom, said to protect against enchantment. You ask, will this keep me from falling asleep? He shakes his head. No, but it might keep your soul from wandering off while you do. Cool. That's fine. That's normal. You travel by moonlight. Daylight is acting strange, too bright. Shadows pointing the wrong way. You pass a traveller frozen mid-step on the road, murmuring something about his daughter, though his eyes are closed. Another sleepwalker. You leave a charm near his hand and hope for the best. As you reach the edge of the mortal world and begin your descent into the earth's breath, the air thickens. There's no path, just stone and darkness and memory. Your torch crackles, but its flame doesn't seem to cast light anymore. Just suggest it. Eventually you reach a cavern. You know it's the right place because you nearly fall asleep standing up. The air itself hums a lullaby in your bones. Not in your ears, in your marrow. You press the moly sprig to your chest and step inside. And there it is, the Dream Forge. Doesn't look like any forge you've ever seen. No anvils, no smoke, just endless pools of black liquid mirror bubbling without heat. Hanging above each pool is a thread of silver suspended from nothing, vibrating slightly. You move to the nearest one. Beneath the mirror's surface you see a dream, not your own. A child floats among stars, laughing. Her laugh becomes music. The music becomes a city. The city begins to burn. You flinch. The image vanishes. You try another pool. A warrior weeps before a mirror. Behind him a hand emerges from the shadows, but it comforts, not kills. Each pool is a dream past or future echo or prophecy. Then footsteps. You turn moly ready like a dagger. But it's just Morpheus. He glides to your side robes, whispering like a memory, trying not to be remembered. You shouldn't be here, he says, though his voice lacks conviction. I had questions, you say? We all do, he replies, especially now. But not all questions like being asked. You look at the pools. Is Hypnos dreaming these? Not exactly. Morpheus says these are leftovers. Dreams unclaimed. Paths not walked. Stories half forgotten. Why here? Because this is where we forged them. When mortals still feared what came in the night, before explanations. You think of a weird historical fact you once heard, that in certain ancient Greek households, people left breadcrumbs on their windowsills to lure dreams in. Others feared them so much they slept with iron knives under their pillows. Historians still argue whether dreams were seen as divine blessings or personal hauntings. Sometimes both. You kneel near another pool. This one shows Olympus shattered, columns falling, gods asleep on their thrones, but not peaceful sleep, forced sleep. Like something too big had turned its eye inward and pulled them in with it. That's a warning, isn't it, you whisper. Morpheus nods. He doesn't dream passively anymore. He creates, even while asleep. Then why hasn't he woken fully? Morpheus looks upward through the stone. He's undecided. About what? Whether the world is ready for dreaming again? You glance around. The place doesn't feel like a temple. It feels like a brain. He smiles faintly. It is both and neither. And then just behind you a sigh. Not from Morpheus, not from you, from the stone. The cavern shudders. The pools ripple. You stumble back as the mirror nearest you begins to rise, forming not liquid, but shape. A face, eyes closed, features soft. Not a statue, not quite. It's him. You don't see the size of Hypnos. You feel it. Like your soul is trying to measure an ocean with a teacup. His eye remains shut, but dreams spill from the corners like fog wrapping your feet, your thoughts. You hear words, not spoken, not thought, just felt. You do not belong here. You drop the molly. Immediately your legs buckle, your mind sways, not like sleep, more like falling into someone else's memory. You see an army asleep in a battlefield, swords dropped, horses lying down, a general weeping quietly in his tent as he dreams of his mother braiding his hair. You see a volcano ready to erupt, stilled by a lullaby hummed through the earth. You see Zeus, young bleeding, terrified, held gently in a palm the size of a continent, lulled just long enough to survive. And then nothing. Just blackness, and one final feeling. Don't wake me. When you come to Morpheus, he's holding you upright. That was a risk, he says. You nod, weakly. He's still good, isn't he? Morpheus doesn't answer. He just says, "Tell Zeus," the forge is not holding. The dreams have grown teeth. You leave the cavern as fast as your legs can carry you. The moly sprig now hums, burned silver black. As you climb, the dream fog lingers in your lungs. And you wonder, how do you fight something that only wants to cradle the world back into itself? Word count 1, 098, awaiting. Continue Ban Junnoi, continue ChatGPT. Junnoi, section 7. You arrive back at Olympus with a limp, a headache, and a half-scorched sprig of moly that now smells vaguely like thunder. A few minor gods eye you with concern or hunger, it's hard to tell. One of them offers you something in a clay cup labeled ambrosia adjacent. You wisely decline. Zeus is waiting at the overlook again, staring down at the clouds, not brooding this time, but listening. The lullaby in the sky has become louder, more complex. It's no longer a tune, it's an orchestra of drowsy realities tuning themselves in unison. You clear your throat. The dream forge is leaking. Zeus doesn't turn. I know, I saw him. Hypnos. Now he turns, slowly, like Atlas readjusting his spine. Did he speak? Oh, you hesitate. Not exactly. But I heard him, felt him. He didn't want to be found. Zeus folds his arms. Then why is he letting mortals dream of his chamber? You say nothing, because that question scares you. Because the answer might be that Hypnos wants to be understood, and you're not sure anyone's ready for that. Did he say anything else? Zeus asks, voice low. You meet his eyes. He said, "Don't wake me." Zeus looks away again. That's what I feared. Behind you, Athena approaches her footsteps, deliberate. She's dressed for war, not the flashy kind, but the quiet, surgical kind. Her shield shimmers like a thought half forgotten. We need to contain him, she says, before he makes the choice for us.
He's not a monster, you protest. No, she replies, he's worse. He's kind. You frown. I'm sorry. Is that bad now? In the wrong context, yes. Her tone is clipped. He won't destroy us with rage. He'll rewrite us gently, make us forget what waking even means. You're saying he'd cradle us to death, to forgetfulness, Athena says, which in the end is the same thing. You remember the dream pools, the battles halted mid-charge, the general sobbing in his sleep. Was it mercy or manipulation? Hypnos hasn't moved, Zeus says, but the line between dreaming and waking weakens. Already cracks spread. He gestures and a shimmer appears in the sky. Not a vision, not a metaphor. A literal crack, thin as a quill, stroke running through the firmament. You can see stars through it, or maybe they're just memories of stars. Every time someone touches the dream too deeply, he says the crack widens.
You glance at Hermes, who's spinning a top made of whispering feathers. He shrugs. Mortals love dreams, even dangerous ones. Especially dangerous ones, Aphrodite mutters. That's half my fan mail. Historically, Apollo begins. There's precedent for this kind of drift. In the era of the Oracle Wars, entire cities functioned in tandem with collective dreams. They built statues of events that hadn't happened yet, dreams as blueprints. Of course, most of those cities are now under the Aegean, right, you say, and we want to avoid an encore. Athena's eyes narrow. We need the chamber sealed. Again, stronger, if not by Nyx's thread, then by something older. What's older than Nyx, you ask? Everyone falls quiet. Then softly, from the edge of the chamber, a whisper. Chaos. It's Morpheus again. He leans against a column, eyes half closed. You're no longer surprised when he just appears. Before Nyx, before Gaia, before time, he says, there was only chaos. Not as disorder, but as origin, the empty cradle, the breath before birth. And you ask, and Hypnos is not bound by time or form. He's as old as unthought. If he slips the net, we won't have nightmares. We'll have nothing. But he's not evil, you say. Again, doesn't have to be. Morpheus murmurs. A lullaby can end a story just as surely as a blade. The gods look to Zeus. Even Ares has shut up for once. We must decide, Hera says. Do we risk waking him to speak, to plead, or do we bury him deeper? Zeus says nothing for a long time. Then with a weary breath he turns to you. You spoke to him more directly than any of us. What does your heart say? No pressure. You rub your temples. He didn't feel angry, just impossibly large, like holding a memory of peace so deep it becomes unbearable. Athena arches an eyebrow. That sounds like a trap, or a gift, Hermes counters. Maybe he wants to remind us of what she asks. That we're not just thunder and war and politics, he says, that we were once dreams too. That shuts even Athena up. Then the room shifts, literally. A wave of sleep washes across Olympus like a warm breeze. You stagger. Aphrodite sits down hard. Even Apollo blinks drowsily. Someone, maybe, you murmurs, oh no. He's dreaming louder. Morpheus frowns. This is bad. He's reaching across boundaries, unintentionally maybe, but the more minds he touches, the easier it becomes. Zeus straightens. Then we act now. How, you ask? We go to the chamber, he says. All of us. Not to wake him, not yet, but to see. And if he wakes when he senses us, Athena asks. Then Zeus says grimly, we remind him who we are, before he reminds us who he is. You really wish you had stayed in bed today, but it's too late now. The gods are moving, and in the sky above the crack gleams just wide enough now to let in a whisper. Come closer. Word count 100 awaiting continue. Ban ja noi continue ChatGPT Janoi. Section 8. The descent begins at dusk. Not that it matters anymore. Daylight is becoming increasingly interpretive. One moment the sun casts a golden glow, the next it flickers like a candle in a drafty attic. Stars blink on and off above you like they're testing new choreographies. The gods do not travel together. That would be too orderly. Zeus flies ahead, thunderclouds curling around his ankles like boots made of storm. Athena walks, of course, precise, patient, one hand resting on her silent blade. Hermes zips between shadows, muttering limericks to keep his mind from drifting. You follow in the rear, accompanied by Morpheus and a disoriented satyr who keeps trying to eat your moly sprig. Your path leads below the known underworld, past the last boundary carved by Hades himself. Beyond this threshold, even the Furies won't follow. Not because they fear Hypnos, though they do, but because they simply forget to. This place is built of forgetting. The Dream Forge is just a threshold. What lies beneath it is the sleep vault. It isn't carved into stone. It is stone folded in on itself in dream geometry that doesn't care for physics. The ceiling arches inward, the floor slopes up, the walls breathe. I hate this, Hermes mutters. You do too. Morpheus guides you forward. This chamber predates architecture. It was shaped by thought, not tools. Whose thoughts, you ask? He doesn't answer. You cross a shallow river, not Lethe, but close. The waters shimmer with unspoken names. If you lean too close, you'll forget why you came. So naturally, Ares leans in and immediately forgets the alphabet for 6 minutes. Finally, you reach the chamber. You know it's the chamber because everyone, gods included, falls silent at once. Even Aphrodite's earrings stop tinkling. Hypnos lies at the center, or hovers, or rests. It's hard to say. He's vast, larger than memory, yet shaped like a man. Silver-skinned, not metallic, but moon-like. Vines wrap around his limbs, blooming with unopened flowers. One eye remains closed, the other is almost open. The room pulses with his breath. You're not standing, you're floating. No wings, no wind, just the soft buoyancy of being inside someone else's dream. No one speaks, not even Zeus. You feel it again, that memory that isn't yours, a cradle, a voice humming, a world held gently in a vast, drowsy palm. Athena is the first to move. She kneels not in worship, but in assessment. His bindings remain, she murmurs. You see them now, threads of silver wrapping Hypnos's wrists, ankles, forehead. Not ropes, not chains, just ideas, the idea of stillness, the promise of slumber, the lull of a world not yet born. Then the floor beneath you shifts. A forge, built into the bedrock itself, shimmers to life. Morpheus walks toward it. This was where the dreams were shaped. He gestures, and the forge opens, not with fire, but with mist. And inside tools, not hammers, not chisels, pens, quills, lyres, instruments of creation, weapons of thought. This is where we forged the first dreams, Morpheus says, the ones we gave to mortals when they still honored sleep as sacred. You lift one quill, it weighs nothing, and yet you feel your fingers ache just to hold it. What did you dream into the world, you ask? Love, Aphrodite says, stepping forward, and sorrow, war, Ares mutters, and the regret that follows, hope, Hermes says, though it often got lost on the way. You look again at Hypnos. He dreams still, but the bindings flicker. Athena frowns. We don't have long. I can reinforce the bindings Hephaestus offers, but they're not failing physically. They're unraveling symbolically. Apollo adds, squinting at the silver threads. His dream is outgrowing the metaphor.
Charming, you mutter. He's dreaming through metaphysical encryption, and we're locked out of the software. Zeus finally speaks. He wants to remember. That's what's happening. He's dreaming of what we tried to make him forget. Like the pact, you ask. Like everything, Zeus says. The war, the fear, the reasons we needed him. You remember the vision. Zeus, young and terrified, Cronus reaching for him, and the hand, Hypnos's hand, lowering over them like a soft avalanche. He didn't kill Cronus. He simply lulled him, long enough for a thunderbolt to slip through his teeth. Historians still argue Hermes says softly whether Cronus fell because of brute force or a divine nap. You glance at Hypnos's half-closed eye, still not open, but you feel it now. He's not just sleeping, he's listening, and he's listening to you. Not Zeus, not Athena, you. You step closer. The others don't stop you. The air thickens. Your thoughts slow. Not like tiredness, but like being gently edited. Unnecessary thoughts trimmed. Worries tucked into drawers. You suddenly remember the name of your first teacher, the smell of fig bread from your childhood, the lullaby your grandmother hummed before she passed. You whisper, "What do you want?" And the answer, as always, is not in words. It's in feeling, not rage, not revenge, just reunion. He wants the world to dream again as one, to be cradled back into the great stillness. No war, no fire, no hunger, just sleep forever. Behind you, Athena whispers, "Seal it now." Hephaestus readies a new binding, a coil of time itself, stolen from Cronos' abandoned hourglass. Zeus lifts his hand. A decision is about to be made, and then the eye opens, just a little. Not wide, just enough. And you see yourself reflected in it, not as you are, but as you could have been. Kind, rested, unbroken, a voice yours, but not whispers. You don't have to keep carrying it.
And for a breathless moment, you believe it. Word count 1, 101, awaiting continue. Ban Jun, Noi continue. Chat GPT Janoi, section 9. You blink once. Twice. You're still standing, technically, but it feels like your mind is sitting cross-legged on a cloud, somewhere far away, sipping warm milk and forgetting what taxes are. The eye of Hypnos is half open now, casting no light, no fire, just stillness. A kind of quiet that makes all other quiet seem noisy. It isn't silence. It's cessation. Behind you, a commotion stirs. Athena grips her sword of silence. She doesn't speak. It doesn't need words. The blade gleams once and doesn't reflect the chamber. It reflects possibilities. "We're out of time," she says, voice cold. "He's looking." Hephaestus clutches the time thread coil like it's a sleeping child. "We bind him now, or we lose the shape of days." But Zeus doesn't move. He just watches you. "You spoke with him," he says slowly, as if the thought is only just forming. "You heard something we haven't." "I don't think he wants to hurt us," you say. And even as you say it, you know it sounds absurd. But it also sounds true. "He wants to change us," Athena replies. "Reshape the waking world into a dream." "Maybe it needs it," Hermes says quietly, from behind a pillar, chewing thoughtfully on a dream fruit. "Have you seen the waking world lately? We made an oath," Zeus rumbles, "to protect the order of waking life, to maintain the wall between sleep and form. Order Morpheus," says his voice like wind over parchment. "Is it order when mortals grind their souls into dust for coin, when kings dream only of conquest, when peace is just a pause between taxation seasons? You can feel it now deep in your ribs, a thrum, not just a heartbeat, a beckoning. Hypnos isn't forcing anything, he's offering. That's the terrifying part. Suddenly your thoughts begin to slip sideways. You look down, your fingers are fuzzing, not disappearing exactly, just losing certainty, like a painting gently being erased from the edges inward. The dream fog thickens. "You're drifting," Morpheus says gently. "Hold to something real." You clutch your molly sprig. It's still warm, still humming, still you. The effect fades just a little. Around the chamber the gods begin to change. Dionysus hiccups and speaks in fluent Babylonian. Ares forgets his own name and starts quoting love poetry. Apollo stares at his hands like he's never seen fingers before. Dream saturation. You recognize it now. It's how cities vanish in legends. One person dreams too hard, too deeply, and suddenly everyone's baking ceremonial bread in a town that never existed. Bind him, Athena insists again, before he pulls us all under. But Zeus lifts a hand, not in command, not in power, just a pause. He saved me, he says, back then. When Cronus came for me all teeth and time, I couldn't fight him. I was a child. I was alone. He steps forward, voice low, almost a whisper, and then I wasn't. I felt warmth, stillness. I dreamed of safety, and when I woke, Cronus was sleeping. Hypnos gave me that. Athena's grip tightens, and now he dreams of cradling the whole world. We will not survive it. You think he's dreaming us away, you say. But what if he's dreaming us right? What does that mean? She snaps. I don't know, you admit. But when I looked into his eye, I saw myself not powerful, not divine, just whole. Dangerous sentiment, Hermes mumbles. Sounds like something that leads to existential reintegration. Or peace, you say? He shrugs. Same difference. You all feel it then, a shift. The air stops moving, the forge dims. Hypnos sighs just once and a bloom unfolds at his feet. Not metaphor, actual flower, blue, delicate, fragrant, dream-born. And through it the whisper comes again. You don't have to keep shaping the world with teeth and fire. Let it rest. Let it become. Athena steps forward. This is it. She draws her blade. The sound is not metal, it's absence. You stand in her path. Move, she says. I won't. Why, she asks, not angry, just confused. Because he's not destroying us. He's inviting us to what you take a breath, to stop surviving and start dreaming. And then something unexpected happens. A child's laugh echoes through the chamber. It isn't from any of you, it's from Hypnos. Somewhere inside his endless breath, a child's voice, his perhaps when time was young, laughs, pure, joyful, unthreatening. Even Athena pauses. Because what war god strikes down a laugh? Hephaestus lowers the coil. Hermes raises an eyebrow. So? Are we just going to stand here and vibe? Zeus closes his eyes. No, we're going to try something unthinkable. What you ask. Trust, he says.
And just like that you sit. So does Athena, so does everyone. One by one, gods of war and wine and wisdom lower themselves around the vast sleeping Titan. Not to trap him, not to chain him, but to listen. And in the quiet that follows, Hypnos sleeps on peacefully, but just a little louder. Word count, 100, awaiting continue. Bana Janoi, continue ChatGPT Janoi. Section 10, you never imagined you'd sit in a half-suspended cavern under reality itself, surrounded by gods in a sleep circle, waiting for a titan to dream less aggressively. But here you are. The chamber's silence is different now, less ominous, more like the hush before a child's first breath. A kind of sacred stillness. Even Ares is seated, cross-legged, eyes unfocused, possibly dreaming of pillow fights and unresolved maternal issues. Zeus leans back against a floating pillar of petrified thought. Yes, that's apparently a thing, and exhales deeply. We've never done this before, he admits.
Sat together, Hermes asks. Trusted a titan? Oh, that. He plucks a dream blossom from the ground and watches it dissolve into mist. You look around the circle. The gods aren't asleep exactly, but they're not fully awake either. It's something in between, a lucid quiet. You've done this before, Morpheus says, turning to you. You raise an eyebrow. I've never sat in a divine nap circle, no, but you've surrendered, he says softly. You've closed your eyes in fear and let the world cradle you, even if just for a moment. You nod, remembering the forge, the dream memories, that brief flash of being unburdened. Good, he says. That's what he's asking of the world. Not to vanish, not to die, just to soften. You glance at Hypnos. Still vast, still silver-skinned, still bound in threads of idea and trust and ancient metaphors, still sleeping, but his breathing has slowed again. The lullaby that once cracked the sky is now barely a hum.
Is he calming down? Apollo asks, head resting on his harp. Yes, Morpheus says. You're stabilizing the dream. How Athena asks, visibly uncomfortable with this turn toward feelings. Because you're finally not resisting it, he replies. You've stopped trying to hammer the dream into your shape and let it reshape you even slightly. It sounds a bit like therapy, divine therapy, sleep edition. Zeus rubs his temples. This isn't sustainable. We can't sit here forever, hoping our silence calms a titan. No, Morpheus agrees, but you can speak with him now. Athena tenses. You want us to initiate contact, he's listening. Morpheus says. He always was. But now he's trusting. Why now, you ask? Because you didn't bind him. That lands like thunder. Soft thunder wrapped in a yawn, but still thunder. You lean forward. What do we say? Start with a story. Morpheus says, whose story? Yours. Your throat tightens.
You glance around, suddenly hyper-aware that you are the least divine person in this cave. Go on, Hermes whispers. Worst case, you accidentally cause a metaphysical collapse. You swallow. Stand. Face the sleeping form of Hypnos. And you begin. You tell him about a night years ago when you couldn't sleep because the world was too loud. Not with noise, but with expectation. You tell him about hiding under a blanket as a child, pretending that if you stayed still enough, the chaos outside your door couldn't reach you. You tell him about the first time you heard your mother hum, not a song, just a sound, and how it made everything bearable. You talk about fear, and how it sometimes wears armor, and how sometimes it just wears exhaustion. You say, I think we've all forgotten how to rest without guilt, to pause without falling behind. The chamber doesn't echo, it absorbs. And then you feel it, a thought pressing gently into yours. Not with force, with warmth. I remember. Just 2 words, but not in your voice, not Zeus's, his, Hypnos. Your knees nearly buckle, not from power, from tenderness. The silver vines around him bloom, the flowers open, inside each one a memory, a child sleeping safely, a village waking with dreams of peace, a battlefield where the soldiers dropped their weapons and began to sing. You step back. Athena stands. She approaches Hypnos slowly like someone petting a very large and very sleepy tiger. I do not trust easily, she says. But you gave my father peace once, and I cannot ignore that. She lowers her sword, not drops it, but she sheathes it. The sound is quiet. Morpheus turns to Zeus. Now, Zeus rises. He lifts a hand, not in threat, but invitation. Hypnos, he says, voice steady, we offer you a new pact. Not built on fear, not on silence, but on balance. He steps closer. Stay with us, not asleep, not awake, but present, a guardian of the boundary. The dream fog thickens slightly, then settles, and Hypnos smiles just a little as the eye closes, not fully, just enough. The chamber sighs. Above you, the crack in the sky knits itself into cloud. The dreamlight dims. Sleep returns to the world, but gently. No more floods. Just the ordinary mysteries of the night. You sit again, heart pounding. The gods breathe. Some laugh, some cry, some finally. Rest. Word count 1, 100, awaiting, continue. Ban Jun Noi. Continue, ChatGPT. Jun Noi. Section 11. You wake up on Olympus. That's strange in itself, because you don't remember falling asleep. The last thing you recall is Hypnos' smile, the chamber sighing, the gods exhaling like wind. through tall grass, and then nothing. Not blackness, not even dreams. Just a kind of soft suspension, like being held by a thought that didn't need to finish itself. Now the clouds above you drift gently, no longer twitching with thunder. The sky feels intact. Not quite whole, but stitched. Like a seam freshly sewn after being torn too wide. You sit up. Around you the gods are sprawled in various states of divine dignity and drooling. Ares is spooning his shield. Dionysus has a half-eaten fig in one hand and a sandal tied to his forehead. Hermes is upside down in a laurel tree. Athena is already awake. Of course she is. She's adjusting her armor and pretending she wasn't just snoring faintly into a scroll about military strategy. Zeus is just standing at the edge of the clouds, staring at the horizon like someone finally released from a very long and very tense therapy session. You approach slowly. The wind smells different now, like laurel and fig bread, and something softer beneath moonlight in bloom. He's quiet, Zeus says. You nod, but not gone. No, he agrees, and that's good. Behind you, someone coughs. It's the shepherd Thalos, the young man from Thessaly, who'd become a dream conduit. He stands at the foot of the marble steps, barefoot hair, wild eyes wide and sparkling. You felt it, didn't you? He asks you. You nod again. What do you see now? He grins, a little shy. Less? You raise an eyebrow. I still dream, he says, but they're my dreams again, not his. The Titan stepped back. Left something behind, though. What you ask? He taps his chest. A feeling like the sky sighing inside you. Okay, you really hope he writes poetry now. Hermes floats over on his back hands behind his head. The mortal dreams are stabilizing. The oracle at Delphi just woke up and ordered breakfast instead of screaming ancient riddles. So, progress. Any reports of villages vanishing into prophetic karaoke? You ask. He shrugs. Couple of bakers in Corinth claimed they saw the moon whisper, but it turned out they'd been drinking date wine fermented in a well. Fringe case. You can't help but chuckle. The world isn't fixed, but it's no longer unraveling. And then there's the scroll. Hermes hands it to you. Found this near the forge. Might want to read it. You unroll it slowly. It's not written in ink. It's written in sleep. Soft lines of script that shimmer like condensation on morning windows. The title, When the Sky Trembled. You read the first few lines. It's a retelling, not from the god's point of view, not even from yours, but from Hypnos's. I was not born to rule, it begins. I was born to remember. You close the scroll. That's enough for now. Nearby Apollo tunes his lyre, humming a new melody. One you haven't heard before. It's not loud, not divine. It sounds like something you'd hear under a blanket during a storm. I'll write this into the stars, he says, softly. A reminder. Athena joins you. We still need boundaries. Sleep is sacred, but so is waking. Maybe now you say we can treat them both with care. There's a new piece in her face. A crack in the marble, perhaps. A good one. Aphrodite stretches, yawns, and mutters something about dream hair, making her radiant. Ares for once doesn't argue. He's too busy watching a nearby olive tree sway like it's humming. Morpheus appears beside you, as always, uninvited but welcome. The line holds, he says. For how long, you ask? He shrugs. That's not for us to know, but you are us, you point out. He smiles. Exactly. Then as quickly as he appeared, he's gone. A yawn in the wind. The gods begin to stir fully now. Olympus fills with sound again, not shouting, not arguing, just the music of divinity remembering itself. Zeus claps you on the shoulder. You did well. I didn't do anything you say. He nods. Exactly. You take one last look at the horizon. No more cracks, just clouds, blue sky, birds, and a feeling in your chest. Not triumph. Not even relief. Just rest. The world will keep turning. And for once it's turning at the right speed. Somewhere beneath it all, Hypnos sleeps. Not because he must, but because he chooses to. And that's enough. Word. Count. 197. Awaiting. Continue. Banjan Noi continue ChatGPT Junoi, Section 12. You decide to stay on Olympus a little longer. No urgent quests, no thunder emergencies, no reality fissures leaking metaphor into the water supply. Just you, a sun-warmed marble bench, and a cup of whatever it is Dionysus insists isn't wine, even though it very much is. The world is quiet again, but not the fragile kind of quiet that hums like a wire ready to snap. This is the lull after a storm. Stillness with weight, a collective exhale. You sip the not wine. It tastes like plum and peace. Around you, the gods are trying awkwardly, amusingly, to be normal. Apollo is composing a song titled Ballad of the Responsible Titan with questionable rhymes but excellent rhythm. Ares is sparring with himself in a mirror that occasionally hits back. Hermes is selling sleep masks embroidered with little crescent moons and the phrase, "I survived the Hypnos drift." He's already made a killing in drachma. You watch all of this unfold not with awe, but with something gentler. Familiarity. It feels like they've all softened a little. Maybe the dreams seeped into them too. Athena surprisingly sits beside you. You've changed, she says. You glance at her. You too. She snorts. Unlikely, but she doesn't deny it. A bird flies overhead, not a phoenix, just a regular bird. Still alive, still flying, still ordinary. And somehow that's miraculous. I keep thinking about what he said, you tell her. That we don't have to keep shaping the world with fire and teeth. She doesn't answer right away, just watches the sky. Then you know the term kairos. You nod, the opportune moment. She adds, the crack in time where possibility lives. I wonder if we just lived through one. A dream-shaped kairos. You think about that. Historians still argue whether Hypnos was ever truly dangerous or just misunderstood. She raises an eyebrow. Historians always argue that's their job. You both laugh. Later Morpheus appears with a scroll again, uninvited again, completely unavoidable. This came through the dream field last night, he says, handing it to you. You unroll it. It's a drawing. Childlike, simple, a field, a sleeping figure, and a small sun rising over the horizon. No name you ask. He shakes his head, just left beside a mortal's bed in Ionia. No one remembers putting it there. Athena peers over your shoulder. Is that supposed to be Hypnos, or the world Morpheus replies? I don't like ambiguous metaphors, she mutters. I know, he says, smiling. You study the drawing again. It's not great art, but it feels right. A sleepy world, not destroyed, not remade, just relearning how to dream without vanishing. You wonder how long that will last. You wonder if it even matters. That night you visit the temple grove again. The laurel trees no longer whisper ominously. Now they murmur like old friends gossiping under a soft moon. You lie down beneath their shade. You close your eyes. And for the first time in what feels like years, you let yourself fall asleep on purpose. In your dream, you're walking along a quiet river. The water is clear. You see faces in it, not creepy, not symbolic, just people dreaming, laughing, breathing. You sit at the bank. A silver-skinned figure sits beside you. You don't speak. Neither does he. You just sit. The river keeps moving. The stars overhead shimmer once then settle. And you feel it again, that sense of weightlessness, not because you've lost anything, but because you've finally stopped carrying everything. You turn to him. Are we done? He smiles just a little. For now. You wake up with dew in your hair and laurel leaves clinging to your tunic. And you realize this is what balance feels like. Not perfect, but peaceful. Somewhere far below Olympus, in a chamber carved from silence and shaped by breath, the sleeping titan turns once in his sleep. The sky doesn't crack. It shivers, like someone being tucked in. Word count 1, 100, awaiting continue. Ban Jun Noi continue, ChatGPT, Jun Noi, section 13. The next few days drift by on Olympus like petals on a breeze. No omens, no cracks in the sky, just the low humming rhythm of gods pretending to be at ease. It's the divine equivalent of summer vacation, if your classmates included a war god who practices with flaming spears and a sun god who insists on narrating everything in haiku. You spend most of your time near the western overlook, where the air is cool and smells faintly of honey and stone. The view shows the Aegean in the distance, unmoving, but not still more like a god holding its breath in pleasant anticipation. Hermes visits often, sometimes just to drop off strange mortal inventions he accidentally acquired, like glass jars full of something called instant coffee. Other times he just sits and eats grapes dramatically. You know, he says one afternoon, this whole thing's going to end up in a myth. It already is one, you reply, half dozing. No, I mean the new kind, the one people whisper to themselves before sleep, not in temples, in bedrooms, on couches, on late trains. When the sky trembled, we listened, and the dream forgave us. Something like that. That's wildly poetic for someone whose most famous statue is pantsless. Hermes grins, a timeless look. You swat a laurel leaf off your shoulder. The piece is real, but underneath it a ripple remains. You feel it one morning when you pass the oracle's shrine and see her sketching in ash again, her hands tracing sleep symbols even while awake. You feel it when a priest in Corinth speaks fluent Akkadian for 23 minutes before realizing he doesn't know what Akkadian is. You feel it in the birdsong, in the winds, in the way the stars realign, just slightly, not wrong, not random, just different. Hypnos hasn't gone, he's still dreaming, but now he dreams with the world. You start seeing it in mortals too. Rumors from below speak of shepherds waking with poems etched into their palms, sailors whispering lullabies to the sea, and the sea answering with calm waters. Children drawing gates with vine-covered arches and saying, "This is where the sky rests." Even animals act differently. Owls blink in unison, dogs tilt their heads at invisible music. One goat near Delphi starts rearranging pebbles into spiral patterns. That one might just be a weird goat, but still worth noting. You start keeping a journal, nothing grand. Just observations. Clouds shaped like cradles today.
Zeus laughed, not thunder laughed.
Someone left figs on Hypnos's altar, not an offering, a snack. The stars are humming. I don't think they know we can hear them. Athena sees you writing and rolls her eyes. Recording dreams invites more of them. Good, you say? You get the sense she doesn't hate that answer. That night, Morpheus joins you near the sleeping gardens. The air is thick with lavender and suggestion. Fireflies float in patterns that almost make sense. He sits beside you and says, "It's working. What is the shift? The softening?" You look around. There's still war, still hunger, still noise. He nods. Yes, but people are starting to imagine other ways too. That's all dreaming is, practicing different truths. You frown, but it doesn't last, does it? Waking always returns. Yes, he says, but so does sleep. You tilt your head, you think we'll forget this. I think forgetting is part of it, he replies. That's why we tell stories. And just like that, a fringe tidbit bubbles up in your mind. Ancient Greeks believed dreams pass through two gates, one of horn, one of ivory. The gate of horn gave true dreams. The gate of ivory, false ones. Historians still argue whether these gates were metaphor vision or merely poetic license. You wonder now if they were both and neither. You ask Morpheus, "Which gate did we pass through?" He doesn't answer. He just smiles and vanishes. Typical. Later you stand at the edge of the sky platform, the place where the first crack once glowed hot and whispering. There's nothing there now, just air. But when you close your eyes, you feel it. The memory of pressure, not pain, possibility. You whisper to no one, "Thank you for not waking." Somewhere far beneath Olympus, in a chamber, wrapped in vines and lightless stillness, a titan breathes. And above the stars shimmer again, not in warning, in recognition. Word count, 100, awaiting, continue. Ban Jun Noi, continue, ChatGPT Jun Noi. Section 14. You're beginning to suspect that Olympus itself has started dreaming. Not in the wild, reality-splitting way of a titan's half-conscious hum, but in a gentler, subtler form. Columns lean more poetically. Fountains splash in deliberate rhythms. The clouds overhead curl into shapes that seem vaguely meaningful, foxes' hearts, labyrinths, until you blink and they melt away. Even time, that ever-fussy taskmaster, has relaxed a little. Mornings bleed slowly into afternoons. Afternoons forget where they were going and become twilight. You're walking through the agora when you notice it. No footsteps. Not just yours. No one's. The marble path has silenced them. You look down. The stones aren't stone anymore. They're soft, not squishy, just considerate. Hermes appears beside you, balancing a tray of nectar cakes. Don't worry, they still support your weight. They've just started cushioning impact. The road is cushioning people's feet. Only when they're tired, he says, biting into a cake. It's adorable. You glance at the trees. They've started blooming out of season. Figs, olives, something that might be dreams given fruit form. The air smells like memory and time. Is this good, you ask? Depends, Hermes says, mouthful, on whether you like your mythological structures. Dream adaptive. You turn a corner and find Aphrodite teaching pigeons choreography. Nearby, Apollo and a group of mortals are playing a stringed instrument that doesn't exist yet. Every time someone hits the wrong note, it sounds like laughter. You're about to ask him what key it's in when you see her. Nyx. She walks past you like a shadow remembering how to cast itself. Tall, quiet, robed in the shade before midnight. No grand entrance, just presence, the night herself. You realize what this means. She's returned. Zeus appears almost instantly, flanked by Athena and Hera, all composed, but visibly trying not to look like teenagers meeting a substitute teacher they deeply respect and also fear. Nyx says nothing. She simply walks toward the sky platform, turns her eyes upward, those fathomless pools of dusk and exhales. And the sky ripples, a breath shared, a pact acknowledged. You join the others. Morpheus stands already at the edge. His eyes close as if listening to a bedtime story he's heard 1,000 times and still loves. He's anchored, he says. Hypnos, you ask. Nyx nods just once. Hera exhales slowly. He dreamed of leaving. Nyx finally speaks, her voice low and velvet soft. He dreamed of returning. Zeus steps forward. And you, why now I walked the boundary, she says, between sleep and forgetting. You gave your oaths. You kept most of them. Mildly insulting, Hermes whispers. Nyx continues, I've come to renew the weave. Hypnos sleeps, but he is not alone. Athena steps beside her. He nearly undid us. Nyx doesn't blink. He nearly restored you. And just like that, the entire mountaintop tilts, not literally but narratively. The gods exchange glances as if seeing the events not as they lived them but from another angle. Nyx turns to you. Yes, you. You carried the story, she says. That's the only reason he listened. You blink. I didn't do anything. That, she replies, was precisely what was needed. She raises one hand, and the wind gathers not with force, but with weight. She plucks a single thread from the air. It shimmers. This is a fragment, she says, of the dream that almost broke the world. She hands it to you. It's small, light as thought, glowing faintly. You hold it like a secret you didn't know you wanted. What do I do with it? Nyx smiles. Remember, that night, you dream. You're in the chamber again, but smaller. Hypnos lies before you the size of a hill, not a mountain. His eye is closed. Vines curl lazily. The forge nearby is dim but not cold. You sit beside him. You don't speak. You don't have to. The dream isn't urgent anymore. It's just dreaming. You wake with the thread still in your hand. Real metaphor. Both you're getting used to that answer. Later, as the gods gather for what passes as a council meeting/picnic, Zeus speaks one final decree. No more pacts of silence. Everyone listens. We've learned, he continues, that fear of dreams is more dangerous than the dreams themselves. Athena nods. We strengthen boundaries by understanding them, not by pretending they're unbreachable. Hermes raises a wine cup to softer gods. Ares grumbles but clinks it. And then, as laughter breaks the stillness, you look up and see something new. A third gate in the stars, not horn, not ivory, but something woven, a place where true and false blur, where sleep and waking shake hands, where stories wait and slowly, patiently unfold. Word count 1102, awaiting continue. Ban Jan Noi continue ChatGPT Ja Noi, section 15. You're starting to notice it everywhere now, that gentle softening. The way Olympus breathes easier, the way dreams seem to trail behind people like perfume delicate and barely there. Even the fates, those famously unflappable loom spinsters, seem affected. Clotho hums lullabies while spinning thread. Lachesis now uses colour-coded ribbons, which admittedly make destiny look a bit like a festive maypole. Atropos still snips threads with her signature flair, but now she pauses first, as if offering a moment for the soul to stretch and yawn before its departure. Rebranding, you ask them. Clarifying, Clotho replies without looking up. There's a difference between fate and cruelty. That's new. You continue your stroll. Along the marble walkways of Olympus, chalk messages have appeared scratched in lazy spirals. May your worries rest.
Nap like a titan. Even gods dream badly sometimes.
You suspect Hermes is behind it, but he insists it's a grassroots movement. Meanwhile, mortal messengers bring reports up the mountain of children who now fall asleep without fear of priests, who no longer scream at the stars of one particularly dramatic playwright who claims he dreamt an entire 3-act tragedy that healed his relationship with his father. Sure, not all dreams are pleasant, but now even the nightmares seem instructive. Morpheus confirms it during one of his increasingly rare but well-timed appearances. Dreams no longer leak, he says, they flow. What changed, you ask? You did, he replies. The gods did. The dream didn't shift, the willingness did. You glance at the horizon. It's not sharper, not blurrier, just deeper. There's more space in everything now.
A few days later, you're summoned not by decree, but by invitation. A scroll tied with a vine left on your pillow. Come to the temple of Hypnos. Bring your name, Nyx. You go, of course. The temple is new, but it feels old, as if it had always been waiting to be built. No grand columns, no gold, just soft steps down into a hollow space where sound forgets how to echo. Inside a pool of dark water. Still, silent, reflective. Nyx stands at the edge. She turns to you. You carry his echo. You nod. You understand it. I'm trying to. That's enough. She motions for you to sit. You do. She places a single finger against your forehead, not pressing, just connecting. Immediately you see 1,000 people dreaming, not in chaos, not in fear, in process, each dream a message folded in fog delivered on foot. You see people waking, blinking, changed not always happily, but with clarity. Even pain can be useful if held gently. You open your eyes. I know, she says. She hands you something wrapped in dark cloth. You unwrap it. A mask. Soft, silver-threaded, shaped like a sleeping face. It's not for hiding. It's for guiding. Nyx's voice is a murmur beside you. There are more dreamers now than ever before, and fewer guides. You blink. You want me to help. She tilts her head. You already are, but this will make it official. You put the mask on, nothing happens. Then everything happens, not in lightning or revelation, but in resonance. You feel the quiet footsteps of the dreaming world beneath you. Feel how many people walk its soft corridors without maps. How many need someone to say, it's just a dream, but that doesn't mean it isn't real. You take off the mask, it's warm. Nyx smiles. You'll know when to use it. You leave the temple different, not marked, melded. That night you try it. Just once. A small girl sleeping in Athens, sobbing through a dream of losing her brother. You appear beside her, not physically. Not as a god, as a presence, a shape, a whisper. You offer her a ribbon. She takes it. The dream changes. She smiles. You vanish. She wakes up laughing.
On Olympus, you sit on your favorite bench again. The stars hum. Somewhere far below, a mortal poet begins a new story. When the sky trembled, it wasn't thunder. It was the sound of a god remembering how to rest. You smile, because you remember too. Word count 101. Awaiting, continue. Ban Jan Noi, continue, ask ChatGPT Jan Noi. Section 16, it starts with a yawn. A big, rolling, unapologetic yawn, not yours, but the world's. The kind of collective exhale that passes invisibly from city to forest, mountain to coast. It begins in whispers, birds delaying their morning song, temple bells ringing a beat late, goats refusing politely but firmly to be milked at their usual time. You feel it too. Not sleepiness, not fatigue, just permission. Permission to slow down. On Olympus, the effect is unmistakable. Even the architecture has mellowed. Statues now seem caught mid-stretch. A nymph's fountain now trickles lazily, its spray arcs shifting with the breeze. like it's too shy to commit. You walk past Dionysus, who's lounging under a grapevine he insists was not enchanted, but now hands him fruit on request. He waves at you with a vine-wrapped goblet and says, "If this is a side effect of metaphysical detente, I approve." Across the courtyard, Artemis and Apollo are napping in shifts, she in a sunbeam, he in a patch of shade. Their twin bows rest at their sides like sleeping cats. Even the muses have paused, not in silence but in reflection. They're revising their hymns to include rest stops, and through it all a single phrase keeps appearing, written on scrolls carved into tree bark, murmured on breezes, let the dream have its say. You're not sure who started it. Probably Hermes, but it's everywhere now. One morning you're summoned again, this time to the old amphitheatre overlooking the lower clouds. It hasn't been used since the festival of divine irony, when someone accidentally summoned a weather spirit with stage fright. Now it's full. Gods, demigods, nymphs, one particularly majestic owl. Zeus stands at center robe, gently flapping in the mountain wind. He's not holding a thunderbolt, he's holding a scroll. It's time he says we spoke openly, not as rulers, not as myth, but as guardians of what was, of what dreams can be. Murmurs pass through the crowd. You glance at Athena, stoic but no longer stone. Zeus unrolls the scroll. This is the pact of the quiet sky, a new covenant between dream and waking, between Hypnos who slumbers and all who live within his breath. He reads the words, slowly letting each settle. We, the keepers of waking, vow not to shun the dream. We will listen, we will guide. We will remember that stillness is not failure, that rest is not defeat. We shall not bind the sky again in fear, but hold it open with care. For dreams do not end the world, they remind it why it began. There's silence, then a ripple of warmth like sunlight through closed eyelids. One by one the gods step forward. Athena presses her hand to the scroll. So does Hera, then Artemis, Apollo, even Hades, who scowls the whole time but signs in obsidian ink. Finally, it's your turn. You step forward. The scroll glows faintly in your presence, not with power, but with memory. You press your hand to it and feel everything. The night, the sky cracked, the moment the eye opened, the feeling of being seen, not as a tool, not as a threat, but as a child in need of rest. Your mark takes the shape of a spiral, simple, honest, endless. After the signing, the amphitheatre becomes something else, not a stage, a sanctuary. Morpheus rises to speak rare but always worth it. Dreams, he says, are not messages, they are mirrors, and now the mirror has space to breathe. He holds up a bowl of dream water collected from the forge itself. He pours it into the air. It floats, shapes appear, not symbols, faces, children, elders, lovers, poets, mortals from across the world, all caught mid-dream, mid-laugh, mid-tear. You asked once, he says to you, if he was dangerous. You nod, remembering. He's not, Morpheus says. But forgetting him was. That night, Hypnos stirs. You feel it in the wind. Not a quake, a curling in, a deeper breath, and in it you hear, well done. When you dream, it's simple. You're walking along the river again. This time there's someone beside you, not a god, not a titan, just a person. Maybe you, maybe him. You sit at the water's edge. No words, just the soft splash of time, and the knowledge that for once no one needs to rush. Word count 101, awaiting continue. Ban, ja, noi, continue. ChatGPT, Janoi, Section 17, Morning. Come slowly now, not just in Olympus, but everywhere. You hear it in the mortal prayers carried up by wind, not cries for war or gold or vengeance. Instead, let my child sleep peacefully tonight. Let my father dream of home. Let me forget the ache just long enough to breathe. You sit on the sky platform watching the clouds do their lazy ballet. Today they're shaped like boats drifting across a sea of light. You wonder if Hypnos dreamed them that way, or if the world has just remembered how to be whimsical. You're not alone for long. A quiet rustle of robes signals Nyx's arrival. She doesn't sit. She never does. She stands like a curtain drawn across stars. Dream attendance is up, she says, without looking at you. You smile. How do you track that I'm the night, she replies. I count by feeling. You nod. You've started to understand that logic. The kind that doesn't need measurements, only weight, echo, and resonance. There's been a request, she adds. Oh, from a mortal priestess. She's been dreaming of a temple not yet built. You raise an eyebrow. She wants to make it real, Nyx says. A place for people to come not with questions but with quiet. You think for a moment. You mean a temple without oracles? Nyx almost smiles. A temple without answers. That's radical and perfect. A week later you descend from Olympus for the first time in what feels like centuries. Not because you've been exiled or summoned, but because you want to. The world below is hazy and warm. Dreams slow. In Thebes, a baker hums a melody that turns his bread gold brown exactly when it's done. He claims it came to him in a dream. In a seaside village near Corinth, a girl teaches her friends how to tie knots that never come undone, but only work if tied sleepily. In Sparta, of all places, a warrior poet begins a school called the Gentle Blade, where children learn both to spar and to rest. One wall reads, a dream. Delayed is still a destiny. You see signs of Hypnos everywhere now, not statues, behaviors, people stopping before answering, people asking, how did you sleep like it matters? At night, when you rest in a quiet grove beneath the stars, you hear it, not a voice, a breath, like someone is tucking the world in again. Back on Olympus, the gods are adjusting in their own ways. Zeus has started walking barefoot, claims it keeps him grounded. Hermes sells him fancy divine insoles anyway. Athena teaches tactical napping as part of her strategy syllabus. Apollo writes lullabies, real ones. He tries one out at sunset and it makes an entire flock of doves curl into little feathered commas mid-air. Even Ares has softened slightly. He still roars in battle, but now he also insists on post-combat herbal tea. And Hypnos still asleep, but dreaming differently. You can feel it in the dream stream when you visit the forge. The pools are calmer, the silver threads no longer trembling. You see gentler dreams now, a city built in a spiral so no one has to walk too far. A classroom where people learn to listen before they speak.
A bridge that appears only when someone chooses forgiveness.
Dreams that don't scream to be real, but offer. One night, as you walk beneath the stars, you sense Morpheus nearby. You're everywhere now, you say, without turning. I try to be, he replies. Sleep's gotten busy, you glance at him. Good busy, real busy. You both watch a shooting star split the sky. Morpheus says, do you know the strangest thing I've learned from mortals lately? What they dream of us less. You blink. That's sad, no, he says, smiling faintly. It means they've started dreaming of themselves again. You sit in silence with that thought. It feels right. Will Hypnos ever wake you? Asks softly. Morpheus tilts his head. Maybe. But not like last time, not to shake the sky. You nod, but if he does, Morpheus continues, he'll wake into a world that knows how to carry him, that listens, that dreams back. You watch another star streak by, and this time you don't make a wish. You just remember one. Word, count, 1101. Awaiting continue. Ban Janoi, continue ChatGPT, Janoi. Section 18, you dream of doors, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. They stretch across a hillside made of wool and twilight, each one carved with a different symbol, a spiral, a sleeping eye, a cup of tea, a goat wearing spectacles. You wander through this landscape, not opening the doors, just listening to what hums behind each. Some echo with laughter, some with music, and one with the sound of someone gently shushing the wind. Eventually one door opens itself. No creak, just a sigh. Behind it a room made of memory, your childhood blanket, the scent of time and rain. A window fogged by breath as you watched a thunderstorm with no fear. You sit in that room for what feels like days. No one interrupts, no time passes, or maybe it all does at once. When you wake, you're not on Olympus, you're in the mortal world, and you're smiling. You've taken to wandering now, not aimlessly, just curiously. Each town greets you differently. In Delphi, people have stopped asking for prophecy and started asking for permission. Permission to feel tired, to stop chasing, to dream a different version of themselves. In Nemea, there's a new sport, competitive napping. There are robed scorecards and a judge named Harold who sleeps through half the events. In Athens, scholars debate whether dreams qualify as legal testimony. One court case turns when a defendant produces a wax tablet etched with images drawn mid-sleep. The verdict, acquitted, on poetic grounds. The dreams are no longer strange. They're simply present. Dreams aren't events. They're infrastructure. Back on Olympus, the gods hold a small celebration. No lightning displays, no wine fountains, just a shared meal under the olive trees. Zeus brings bread he baked himself. It's dense but heartfelt. Hera organizes seating with surgical precision. No one dares rearrange her place cards. Apollo plays a gentle tune. Artemis rolls her eyes but hums along. Athena passes around scrolls filled with new insights into how memory rewrites itself after dreams. Ares accidentally sits on one and calls it squishy wisdom. And you're seated between Hermes and Morpheus, both of whom are already halfway into a nap. You sip warm pomegranate tea and think, this feels like a dream worth remembering.
Later that evening, you take a walk with Hera. It's awkward at first. She's not the sort to stroll casually. Her steps are precise, like each one is defending an ancient marriage contract. But then she surprises you. She says, I used to dream of silence. You wait. I thought it meant peace. But it was just absence. She glances at the stars. Now I hear dreams again. Not noise, not chaos, just presence. You nod. Hypnos taught us that. No, she replies. You did. You don't know what to say to that, so you walk.
A few days later, you find a message carved into the bark of a laurel tree. Not deep, just gently etched. The door remains closed, the window slightly open. You look up. The breeze smells like sleep.
In time you start to teach. Not lessons, not commandments, stories. You gather listeners in fields and glades and sunlit courtyards. People who once feared sleep now ask you, what does it mean when I dream of flying, but only backward? Or why do I keep hearing a lullaby from a place I've never been? You don't always answer. Sometimes you ask them what they think, and the answers, they surprise you. It means I miss who I used to be. It means I'm scared to move forward.
It means I'm ready to forgive someone.
And once it means I'm the door, you remember that one? You wrote it down.
One night you feel the pull. You return to the chamber of sleep. Hypnos still rests, but now his eye doesn't twitch. It glows, just slightly. The vines have bloomed again, pale and fragrant. The forge remains cool, but active new dreams forming in its mirrored pools. You kneel. You whisper, they're dreaming again. On their own. And in return, you hear, then I can rest. You stay a little longer sitting by the forge. You trace shapes in the dust. You write your own dream, not of power, not of immortality, just this house with windows open to starlight, a path that leads to no war, a name spoken gently in sleep, a cradle not for children, but for peace. And when you leave the door behind, you does not close, it waits. Word count Walan 100, awaiting continue. Ban ja noi, continue ChatGPT ja noi. Section 19, you return to the mortal world with a new weight, not heavy but deliberate, like wearing a coat lined with memories instead of wool. Everywhere you go, people recognize you not as a god, not as a hero, but as someone who listens. In a mountain village, an old woman asks you to bless her grandson's nap. In a coastal town, a merchant insists on giving you a shell she dreamed about 2 nights before you arrived. It hummed your name, she says. Or maybe a recipe. Either way, it's yours. You take it.
It smells faintly of lullabies.
Eventually you find yourself invited to a quiet settlement between 2 hills that no one can quite name. They don't have a temple there. Just a shaded circle of olive trees and a simple stone bench. The villagers call it the listening place. No one speaks above a whisper. Children play, but their laughter sounds like wind through feathers. Adults trade stories like food. You notice they don't say, I had a dream. They say, a dream visited me. And when you ask them what they mean, one boy replies, dreams are people too. They just live sideways. You decide to stay the night. You dream of a staircase built from rain. At the top is a bed. Not your bed. Just a bed, waiting. You don't climb it. You wake up rested anyway. When you return to Olympus, things are shifting again, not unraveling, rebalancing. The gods are slowly rediscovering something older than prayer, participation. Hera volunteers in the healing halls. She doesn't perform miracles, she just sits, listens. Her presence becomes a balm. Hephaestus crafts tools for potters and bakers, not weapons, nothing enchanted, just things that last longer than hands do. Hermes runs a dream mail service. People leave notes beneath pillows. He delivers them to the right dreamer. You contribute too. You write bedtime stories, short ones, whispered into the wind or tucked under doormats, sometimes just a sentence long. You are more than what woke you.
No one dreams wrong.
You're allowed to rest before you're finished. You never sign them, people start calling them whispers. You like that. Morpheus visits again. He brings a map. It's blank. Just a large sheet of vellum with one line down the center and a note that says mark, where it feels real. You stare at it for days. Then finally, one night you draw a small spiral in the lower left corner. That's all. He doesn't ask for more.
Eventually there's a celebration, not a festival, not a victory parade, just a gathering. Everyone brings something. Zeus brings honey. Artemis brings star shells. Dionysus brings a musical fruit that shouldn't work but absolutely does. The fates weave a tapestry of the past year. It's messy, frayed, lovely. Athena reads a speech. Halfway through, she pauses and says, "You know what? Let's just be quiet for a while." And everyone laughs. You find yourself sitting with Thalos the shepherd. He's grown older, not in years, but in knowing. You ask him if he still dreams the impossible. He shrugs. Sometimes. But now I also dream of waking up happy. You raise your cup to that.
Later you walk the stars with Morpheus. He points out the newest constellation. It's shaped like an eye, closed, not in fear, in peace. "You did this," he says. "No," you reply. "We did." "True," he says, "but someone had to start." He pulls a piece of string from his robe. It's glowing faintly. "The same thread Hypnos once gave you." "I kept it safe," he says. "You hold it again." It pulses in your palm like a second heartbeat. "Ready," he asks. "For what?" "To write the ending." You kneel on the edge of the clouds. You press the thread into the sky, and a door appears. Small, simple, unlocked. Above it, one word: welcome. And with that, the world exhales. Word count 100, awaiting continue. Ban Jun Noi, continue ChatGPT Jun Noi, section 20. You don't cross through the door. You could, it's open after all. But something in you understands this isn't a passage for the feet. It's for the soul. For those moments when life grows too heavy and you need a place to put it down. So you leave the door there, hovering at the edge of Olympus, framed by clouds and the hum of forgotten lullabies. A monument not of stone, but of surrender. The gods visit it too, one by one. No speeches, no offerings. They just stand and listen. Word spreads quickly. Mortals come in dreams, feet never touching Olympus. Eyes closed but searching. They don't knock. They don't need to. The door answers to longing, to gentleness, to those who whisper before they weep. You begin to notice something new in the world, people building door-shaped things. Arches of ivy in village gardens, window frames with no glass. Drawings tucked into coat pockets, showing a simple rectangle, and the words, "See you inside." In one town, children tie ribbon handles to trees and invite the wind to come visit politely. In another, a young woman claims she fell asleep and met her late grandmother at the threshold. They didn't talk, just held hands. You don't question any of it. Not anymore. Olympus, once a fortress of control, has become something closer to a studio. A place where ideas nap before becoming stories. Zeus now holds councils of quiet. No agendas, just questions left unanswered on purpose. Hera encourages weekly silences among the gods, a whole hour where no one speaks, argues, or transforms into anything inconvenient. Even Ares is trying. The other day he caught himself mid-battle cry and changed it to a thoughtful grunt. "You're all welcome," he muttered. That's called growth. Hermes laughs more than he speaks now, and that's saying something. You catch him one afternoon teaching mortals how to write dream journals in verse. Rhymes are memory's mattress, he explains. You believe him. One night, as you sit near the grove, you sense a pulse from below. It's Hypnos. Still dreaming, but with company now. You hear it in the air, the quiet laughter of dream gods returning. Old ones, forgotten ones, not terrifying, not overwhelming, just there. Morpheus appears, wearing robes stitched with starlight and chalk smudges. He's no longer dreaming alone, he says. You nod. I know. He sits beside you. There's something new forming. You raise an eyebrow, a vision, a rhythm. You close your eyes and you feel it. The world has a heartbeat again, but this one isn't a drum, it's a rocking chair, the kind that creaks when the wind sighs. A few days later, you return to the temple of Hypnos. It's grown, still modest, still quiet. But where there was once stone and shadow, now there are tapestries, soft music, a shelf of dream leaves where visitors can place their stories. There's a small inscription over the entrance now. You didn't write it, but it's your words. Rest is a kind of remembering. You sit near the door, not as a guardian, not as a prophet, as a greeter. People come with questions, worries, worn-out hopes. You don't solve them. You offer them tea, sometimes silence, sometimes a dream to borrow. One morning, Nyx returns. She doesn't speak at first, just watches the sun try to rise slowly, as if not wanting to interrupt anything. Finally, she says the dream has settled into the soil. You smile. Will it stay? No dream stays, but this one will echo. She places a hand on your shoulder. It feels like dusk and warm wool. You did something rare, she says. You asked the night to teach instead of retreat. You think about correcting her, about saying it wasn't just you. But she already knows. She always knows. Later, when you stand before the door again, something has changed. You can see the other side now. A field, a table set for one, a chair rocking slightly in the breeze, a cup of something warm beside an open book that hasn't been written yet. No one beckons, no one hurries. But you understand now that's the place where rest becomes story, where dreaming becomes becoming. And you whisper to no one and everyone. When the sky trembled, it wasn't a warning. It was a lullaby held too long. And we finally learned the words. Word count. 1, 1, no 1. Awaiting, continue. Ban Jun Noi, continue. Chat GPT, Jun Noi. Section 21. Time, as it turns out, is perfectly content to slow down when no one's yelling at it. On Olympus days, stretch gently bending like willow branches under the weight of thought. There's no urgency. The sun takes its time, rising, often pausing mid-horizon as if checking in on the world before climbing fully into the sky. The moon no longer races to meet it. They pass each other like old friends, swapping dreams in passing. You're in the olive grove again, watching the wind sketch patterns into the dust. Morpheus arrives barefoot, holding a jar. He places it beside you. What is it, you ask? A dream, he says. Of course it is. The jar is sealed with wax and a ribbon of sleep thread. It vibrates gently in your hand, humming like a memory, trying to return. Whose dream does it matter? You pause. No. You don't open it. You hold it like an egg, like a promise. News from the mortal world arrives like petals on the breeze, not proclamations, postcards. A city has redesigned its town square with hammocks and lullaby fountains. A scholar has founded a new discipline called somnology, the study of what dreams whisper about civilization. A baker in Thessaly has created nap bread, so soft it comes with a blanket and a warning not to operate heavy chariots after eating. Children especially are changing, not just in how they sleep, but how they carry dreams while awake. They speak of invisible friends named not yet, and almost. They tell stories that loop and bend and end only when they feel like it. One child in Sparta dreams an entirely new kind of alphabet and teaches it to a raven who is now a respected village historian. You visit that village. The raven critiques your handwriting. You respect its opinion. The door still stands, always in the background, always just within reach. You visit it often, not to enter, but to sit beside it. Sometimes people come, not crowds, never crowds, just someone, a mother who forgot how to sleep without guilt, a scribe who hasn't had a quiet thought in months, a boy who once had a bad dream and didn't know where to put it. You offer the same thing each time. Would you like to rest? Not everyone says yes, but everyone lingers. And when they go, they walk softer. One day Athena approaches you with a scroll. She looks hesitant. That alone is rare. This appeared on my desk, she says, placing it in your hand. No signature. Just a phrase. You unroll it, a single line written in the handwriting of someone who has recently remembered how to hope. Maybe peace isn't what follows the end, but what keeps it from arriving. You look up. Athena is already gone. That night you dream something impossible. You're back at the moment the sky cracked, when Hypnos first stirred, when Olympus trembled. But now you're outside it, watching. You see yourself, tiny, mortal, trembling, and then you see Hypnos. He isn't vast, he isn't terrifying, he's tired. Tired of being feared, tired of being forgotten. He looks at you, not the you dreaming, but the you standing small at the edge of the gods. And he nods. Not in warning. In thanks you wake up, smiling. Later, Hermes delivers a message. It's not on paper, it's carved into a peach pit. You hold it up to the sun. Inside it, in impossibly tiny script, reads, "Even eternity naps." Things are different now, not dramatically, but deeply. The gods still argue, mortals still falter. Stars still fall, sometimes by accident or design. But now there's room. Room for the pause. Room for dreams that don't need to mean something right away. Room for a world that wants to breathe between its sentences. And in the quiet moments, when no one is watching you, sometimes whisper to the sky, "Thank you." Not for fixing everything, not for turning sleep into salvation, just for holding the line long enough for the world to remember there is magic in stillness. And sometimes the most powerful thing a god or a person can do is let the dream speak first. Word count, 101. Awaiting continue. Ban Jun Noi, continue ChatGPT Jun Noi, section 22. You've begun keeping dream hours, not in the rigid alarm clock sense. Olympus abolished those after the Chronos misfires of last spring, but in a gentler, more reverent way. Each evening, you sit near the edge of the temple grove with a sand timer that refills itself according to your heart rate. When the grains stop falling, you set everything aside. Pen, scroll, thoughts, even identity. You call it the drift. Sometimes people join you. They don't talk. They don't ask for lessons. They just sit their breaths syncing with yours, letting the world go slightly soft around the edges. It's the most sacred part of your day. The door remains open. Not ajar, not forced, just available. You've noticed people no longer try to define where it leads. They know better now. Instead, they place things beside it, a child's drawing of a staircase with wings, a cracked lyre wrapped in sleep thread, a teacup full of rain caught during a dream, a poem written in a forgotten dialect titled simply Again.
You never touch these things. You don't have to. The door remembers everything placed beside it, even the things unsaid.
One morning you awaken with a sentence in your mouth. You don't know where it came from, but you speak it aloud anyway. The sky doesn't tremble anymore. It listens. Later, Hermes knocks over 3 fig jars trying to write it on a mosaic. Zeus carves it into a tree. Quietly. No thunder. Even Ares whistles it, though he pretends he's doing something else entirely. You catch Morpheus murmuring it as he walks past the forge. Even Nyx repeats it once. Softly. Like a bedtime story she'd forgotten was hers.
New dreams begin appearing. Not prophecies, not warnings, designs, a garden that waters itself when someone nearby feels unloved, a tower built of yawned-out wishes, a river that slows down on hard days. Mortals dream these, and the world listens. Some of them even get built. The garden thrives in Naxos. The tower appears in drawings and song. The river. Well, rivers are shy, but you suspect at least one took the idea seriously.
You return to the chamber of Hypnos once more. Not because something's wrong, but because you miss him. He's still sleeping, but the chamber is brighter now, not lit just to wear. The vines are flowering in new colors, teal, rose, memory, gold. The forge hums with a deeper tone, like the breath between verses of a lullaby. You sit beside him as you've done before. Only this time you speak without whispering. You've changed the way we speak about rest. The vines rustle faintly. You're pretty sure that's his version of a smile. You made dreams something people trust again. You pause, then add, even the gods. No reply? None needed. You leave a ribbon beside him, not enchanted, not ancient, just soft, just present.
On your way back, you find Thalos the shepherd waiting on a step with a small bundle of papers in his lap. I wrote something, he says. They're not prophecies, just dreams I liked. You take the bundle, read one. I dreamed of a hill that whispered its secrets to clouds, and the clouds told no one. That made them beautiful. You look up at him. He shrugs. I'm not a poet. You're wrong, you say. Later, a mortal child who dreams of feathers shows you a new lullaby. It doesn't rhyme. It doesn't even have a melody. It's just a sequence of breath sounds, but it makes your shoulders unclench for the first time in days. She calls it cloud speaking. You learn it immediately. And one evening, as stars arrange themselves without fanfare, you sit beneath them and whisper, "Hey, Hypnos," if you're listening. And the wind shifts, just enough. You smile, because you know he is.
Not every dream is gentle. Some are sharp, some are sad. But now, people meet them like guests, not invaders. They say, "Thank you for arriving. Let's talk." And more often than not, the dream becomes something useful. A blueprint, a compass, a sigh. You wake one morning with a word glowing faintly in your mind. Stillness. You carry it with you that day and find it everywhere. Word count 1, 100, awaiting continue. Ban Jun Noi. Continue ChatGPT Jun Noi. Section 23. There's a new kind of celebration on Olympus. It happens without warning, without planning, and without any formal invitations, which bothers Hera slightly, but thrills Hermes to no end. They call it the Festival of the Unsaid. It's not about what's announced, but what's felt. No trumpets, no scrolls, just space. Ares brings a stone and sets it down, says nothing, walks away. Athena weaves a short story using gestures alone, told in 5 movements of the hand and 1 carefully timed glance. Dionysus teaches the olive trees a drinking song in a forgotten dialect. The trees hum it when no one's listening. Even Apollo contributes by not performing. He simply places his lyre on the ground and sits beside it, letting its silence echo longer than any melody could. You don't contribute at first, but at sunset you find a bowl of water. You whisper a name into it, just one, then pour the water into the grass, and somehow everyone claps.
Later, back at the grove, you find a mortal waiting, a woman, older, wiser, tired in a peaceful way. She doesn't bow, she doesn't pray, she just asks, "Will you walk with me?" You do. She tells you of a dream she had when she was a child, of an ocean made of stars and a staircase that led inward, not upward. You smile, you're not alone. That one's making the rounds. She chuckles. I thought so. Before she leaves, she places a smooth stone in your hand for your pocket or your silence. You still carry it.
In the waking world, a slow shift begins. Poets stop searching for endings. Philosophers pause mid-thesis and say, maybe that's enough for today. Even kings begin scheduling listening hours where they say nothing and let their subjects speak dreams instead of grievances. One ruler in Ephesus starts a dream garden open to all, guarded by none. The only rule is no shoes, no shouting, no clocks. People come from miles away just to sit in it. They call it the soft place. It becomes the quiet capital of dreams. Back on Olympus, Hypnos stirs again. Not in a way that shakes foundations, just a twitch, a deeper breath, a kind of internal smile. You sit beside his chamber, humming softly, and the air shifts. One of the forge's pools ripples, and from it rises a new dream. You recognize the form. It's you, but different, wearing robes of woven paws, eyes reflecting not power but invitation. You don't ask what it means. You already know. One morning the gods awaken to find the stars have changed formation. No one moved them, no decree was issued, but they've reassembled into a new shape, a spiral. Not tight, not frantic, a slow, wide circle like the sleep of someone who no longer flinches in dreams. Zeus looks up and says, "That'll keep the astronomers busy." Morpheus shrugs, or lull them to sleep. Either way, the sky has joined the movement. You begin to teach a new lesson. Dreamwalking 101, how not to fix things. Your syllabus includes how to nod encouragingly without interfering. The 5 best facial expressions for "I hear you." Why metaphors don't always need decoding. And a surprisingly popular lecture titled "When the Sky Trembled," and I Didn't Panic, a personal memoir. Your students include demigods, nymphs, tired mortals, one retired siren, and a satyr who just likes your tea. They all take notes. Most of them are drawings. You find an old sketch of Hypnos left under a cypress tree. It's childish, beautiful. A figure asleep on a mountain surrounded by floating books and birds carrying lullabies. You place it on the altar in his chamber. The vines curl protectively around it. You whisper, "They remember you kindly." The chamber hums. Hypnos is still dreaming, but now it's on purpose. Later Nyx appears, not to give instructions, just to watch the sunset beside you. "It's quieter now," she says. "Not everywhere you reply." She nods, but in the right places. You don't ask her what comes next. You both already feel it. The world is shifting from defense to presence, from waking to awareness, from trembling sky to listening sky. You look up and murmur, "When the gods learned to rest, the world remembered how to breathe." Word count, 100. Awaiting, continue. Ban Jar Noi, continue. ChatGPT Jar Noi. Section 24. The stars blink slower now. You've begun to track their rhythm, not for prophecy, not for navigation, but for comfort. You notice when one lingers longer before dipping below the horizon, as if reluctant to leave the story unfinished. You're lying in the orchard behind the temple of Hypnos, watching fig blossoms curl open as night drapes itself over Olympus. A few petals drift onto your robe. You don't brush them off. Morpheus arrives without a sound, balancing 3 teacups and a single question. Do you think we ever finish dreaming? You sip. The tea tastes like candlelight and memory. No, you reply, but I think we sometimes pause well. He grins. Then we've made progress. In the mortal world, a new tradition begins dream rounds. Communities gather once a season not to solve anything, not to vote or barter or bless crops, but to share dreams. They sit in circles. Each person speaks one fragment. I saw my grandfather riding a comet. I became a tree that whispered lullabies. I lost a battle but found my childhood.
I wasn't anyone, and it was peaceful.
No interpretations, no debate, just acknowledgement. People bring food, blankets, poems on scraps of paper. The gatherings last until the stars forget to leave.
You're invited to one. Not to lead, to listen. It's a seaside village, all salt wind and driftwood laughter. You sit with a fisherman who once dreamed of being a song. He never learned music, but every net he casts hums softly in tune. He tells you, I think Hypnos visited me, but it looked like a lighthouse. You nod. He tends to be metaphoric. Before you leave, the villagers give you a ribbon made of woven seaweed. You wear it proudly. Hermes insists it clashes with your robe. You tell him that's fashion evolving.
Back on Olympus, the gods are preparing something, not a war, not a wedding, a rest. They call it the long pause. Once every lunar cycle, all divine activity ceases for one day. No lightning, no declarations, no transformations into bulls or swans or dramatic metaphors. Just rest. Hera lounges in a hammock with a book titled Quiet is the New Power. Apollo plays scales that go nowhere. Even Hades sends an out-of-office message, gone haunting myself. Back tomorrow. Zeus resists at first. Then he discovers the joy of midday, napping under a sunbeam shaped like a question mark. You walk through Olympus during the pause and feel the world uncoil. Even the marble breathes easier. One morning you return to the chamber of Hypnos, not out of duty, out of affection. He sleeps still nestled in starlit vines, the dream forge gently flickering. But now something new has appeared, a book, open, blank, glowing faintly. A quill floats nearby, dipped in ink, made of quiet thunder. You don't ask whose book it is. You already know. You write one sentence, we dreamed our way home. The ink sinks into the page like a promise. The book turns the page itself. You spend more time now walking through mortal villages. People know you not always by name, but by energy. They offer you seats, soup, stories. Sometimes they hand you dreams they've drawn on leaves, bark, or sand. You carry them all, in your robe, in your heart, in the small pocket inside your silence. One evening a child asks you, "Are you a god?" You kneel beside her. No, you say, "I'm just a dream that stayed too long." She nods solemnly, then offers you a cookie. Dreams need snacks, she says. You take it. It's perfect. Nyx visits one last time. She watches the moon ripple across Hypnos's forge. He's nearly ready, she says. You inhale softly. To wake, she nods, but only because the world no longer fears him. You glance at the vines now blooming in constellations. What will he be like? She smiles, quieter than before, but deeper. You sit together, just sitting. The kind of stillness that feels like music. The kind of silence that answers questions without speaking. That night in your dreams, Hypnos opens one eye. Not wide, just enough. He sees you, and you hear, "Thank you for remembering me," softly. Word count 100 awaiting continue. Ban Jun Noi continue, Chat GPT Jar Noi, section 25. There's a hush across the heavens, not silence, a hush. The kind that arrives before something gentle. The way the air stills before a feather lands, the way a child holds their breath just before falling asleep. You wake before sunrise, if waking even applies anymore. The temple of Hypnos is quiet. The vines curl protectively but not tightly. The forge of dreams glows like a heartbeat beneath silk. You feel it before you see it. He is stirring, but not with the fury of before. No earthquakes, no trembling skies, just a slow, reverent return. You enter the chamber without fanfare. He is sitting now, still wrapped in shadow, in dream stuff, in the delicate hush of all the world's unspoken things. One eye opens. He smiles, not grandly,
Not godlike, just humanly. You bow your head. He speaks not aloud, but through the stillness. "You did not wake me?" "No," you whisper, "but we waited well." He nods, and for the first time in what feels like eternity, Hypnos stands, not to rule, not to command, but to walk. He steps from his bed barefoot, and the marble floor grows moss beneath his feet. Where he walks, the air warms, cools, then stills like a breeze, choosing which song to become. You walk beside him. Not as guide, not as servant, as companion.
On Olympus the gods gather, word has spread. There's no procession, no thundering chorus, no bolts hurled into the sky, just presence. One by one they bow, not in submission, but in acknowledgement. They greet him with soft hands and quiet hearts. Even Ares wipes his boots. Apollo offers him a fresh melody, a lullaby played backward so it feels like remembering. Hermes gives him a map with no labels. Just follow the pauses, he says. Athena speaks only 3 words. It's good time. Hera offers him a seat beneath her favorite fig tree. "You can rest here too," she murmurs. He does. He sits, and the world settles around him. Later, you and Hypnos watch the clouds roll beneath Olympus. He asks no questions. You offer no answers. The moment needs none. Then quietly he says, "They've stopped fearing the dark." You nod. They've begun listening to it. He exhales something between a sigh and a lullaby. The dream door still stands, of course. More travellers now. Some leave poems, others leave grief, and a few leave nothing but a whisper. But every offering is welcomed. Every story becomes a stone in the foundation of a quieter future. And you begin to step back, not vanish, not dissolve, just fade softly into the lull. The dream no longer needs a shepherd. It has voices now. It has echoes. It has you in every breath, between thunderclaps, in every stillness that follows a child's yawn. You write one last sentence in the book beside Hypnos's forge. We trembled once, but then we dreamed, and in that dreaming, we healed. That night you dream of a sky that doesn't fall, doesn't rise. It simply holds. Word count, 100, wind down, final 300 words, and now, dear dreamer, we've reached the softest part of the tale, where words give way to whispers, where the stars blink slower, where even the gods lean back and let their thoughts float like leaves on a stream. You've wandered far tonight through clouds that shimmer with memory, past vines that sleep and dream in color beside a God who taught the world that rest is not weakness, but wisdom. Let your breath slow, let your shoulders uncoil. No need to hold the story any tighter. Now it's found its own way, and so have you. Imagine the sky above you vast, velvety, and unburdened. Imagine a door, small open, welcoming waiting at the edge of your thoughts. Not asking anything of you, just offering rest. Perhaps you'll step through it. Or perhaps you already have. Feel the quiet rise up to meet you. Feel the hush that wraps around your ribcage like a warm shawl. And let it remind you as gently as a lullaby, whispered through moss and moonlight, you are safe. You are enough. And here, in this moment, you can finally sleep. End of script. Sweet dreams.